Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode number 106 of Fraternity Foodie. I am your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. We call these episodes Fraternity Foodie because there is nothing like great food to bring people together. I have a very big treat for all of the loyal Fraternity Foodie listeners today. I am a huge fan of our next guest, mostly because she is so open and honest and talking about some of her struggles. I feel like it gives hope to other people who are struggling right now in our audience and elsewhere. And she is helping to eliminate some of the stigma that is out there. So I'm incredibly thankful for her work. And I also appreciate what a beautiful person she is on the inside. We have with us on the show today, Miss America, Camille Schrier. Welcome to the show, Camille.
Hi, thank you so much, Mike, for having me. I'm grateful to be here. Oh, I love the American flag. Got to get the patriotic spirit going.
It's just for you. I really appreciate you being on the show today. It's awesome.
Absolutely. I'm grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So you're a Pennsylvania native, but you chose Virginia Tech for your undergraduate experience. So tell our listeners, what made Virginia Tech the best choice for you?
Gosh, well, do you have a year to talk about that? Because
Sure.
honestly, it's such a long story. When I was a high school senior and I was trying to figure out where I was going to go to college, I actually applied to like 12 colleges. And I really couldn't narrow it down well. I ended up going to a university in the Midwest for a period of time. And then I ended up transferring to Virginia Tech because that first school didn't really work out well for me.
Mm-hmm.
So Virginia Tech had been on my list all along. I had gone to a summer engineering camp for women in engineering when I was in high school, really enjoyed being there. And so I applied there, maybe thought about going there, and then didn't go there, went somewhere else, and then was like, maybe I should have gone to Virginia Tech. And then I made my way back down to Blacksburg. And I'm really grateful that I did because it was the best fit for me. And I realize that more now because I was in a place that wasn't such a good fit. So I was able to see that a lot clearer afterward.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you found the right fit. Clearly, it worked out really well for you. And I know that you're really passionate about science. You have dual bachelor's degrees in systems biology and biochemistry. Now you're pursuing your doctor of pharmacy at Virginia Commonwealth University. So I'm wondering, what is fueling this love of science that you have?
I wish I could show you the picture of me when I was like 5, when I'm dressed up like a mad scientist. And I will tell you that because I was always the little kid that loved science. It was not something that I ever like woke up one day and was like, I think I'm going to like science today, or like had any kind of like defining moment. It was something that I always really liked, and the people around me realized that and then put me in situations where I could really thrive and understand and foster that love of science that I already had inherently.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important, is especially as parents, recognizing what your children are good at and then giving them the opportunity to kind of go into depth in what they're good at and what they like. So that was something that I experienced as a kid. So I loved all different kinds of STEM. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I started as a chemical engineer in college. I thought about being a food scientist. I thought about being a marine biologist, a meteorologist, but I eventually landed in biochemistry and systems biology. And then I did an internship in college with a pharmaceutical company, and I really enjoyed that. And then I decided to go to pharmacy school afterwards. So I'm just a big science nerd. That's about all I can say in terms of why I love science so much. And I don't think it'll be anything that ever goes away anytime soon.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think for parents or future parents, we all come into this thinking that our kids are going to absolutely love whatever it is that we're into. So I'm really into sports, and certain things. And I just assumed that, of course, my kids are going to want to love sports. And then I found out they actually love music and art. And I'm like, okay, so I really had to make a shift and say, well, these are individual beings, and we just have to pay attention to the clues and put them in a position to be successful. That's all we can do as parents, ultimately.
Absolutely. And that is so important in so many different ways, whether or not your child likes science or likes something else or art or any particular unique talent that they have. Give them the opportunity to flourish and thrive. And I'm glad that my parents recognize that.
That's beautiful. And you also joined Kappa Delta at Virginia Tech. I am a huge fan of Kappa Delta and their entire organization, top to bottom. Shout out to KD. Their motto is, let us strive for that which is honorable, beautiful, and highest. What was
Mhm.
special about the Sisters of Kappa Delta that made them the right choice for you? And I'm wondering, what was the experience like for you as an
Mhm.
undergraduate in Greek life?
So I had just transferred to Virginia Tech. So I was actually in my junior year when I decided to rush for Greek life at Virginia Tech.
Mhm.
And there was something about Kappa Delta that just stood out to me in terms of really the women that I had met being so interested in who I was as a person, getting to know me and valuing what I could offer. Um, and really being so welcoming. So that was number one, really sold me. And what I felt like was I had a different connection with them than I did with the other groups on campus. But particularly Kappa Delta as a national organization, I was really excited about focusing on confidence and building confidence in young women,
Mhm.
and also looking at programs like the Girl Scouts. That was something that I experienced when I was a young person. I was a Girl Scout, and so seeing that Kappa Delta had partnered with those types of organizations like Girl Scouts, and then focused on Prevent Child Abuse America, that was another one of our national platforms that we worked on.
Mhm.
Those were all things that I really felt like was a good fit for me to be able to help advocate for. I was really into the community service perspective of being in Greek life, and that was something that I hoped to gain from it. And so I had a really good experience in Kappa Delta. It was difficult to balance with my academic work. I will be quite honest with you in that, because I was so academically focused and I was already like 2 years ahead of most of the other women in my pledge class. But it was a great experience. Helped me integrate and find new friends when I had just transferred and was kind of like a new person on campus.
Mhm.
It gave me that kind of stability. And my big is one of the most wonderful women that I've met in my entire Virginia Tech experience. And her and I are great friends to this day.
Oh, that's really sweet. I'm sure she loves hearing that. And I know the Sisters of Kappa Delta are extremely proud of everything that you've done. And I'm glad that you had that experience. I mean, I feel the same way. I feel like getting to campus, I went to a school with 30,000 students at the University
Yeah.
of Buffalo. And it's just, it's very easy to feel overwhelmed at a school like that. And I think it just gave me this tight knit community that I could manage. And I could figure out my way in that small group. And it just led to some beautiful, amazing things in life. So I'm glad that you had that opportunity. I'm glad that you're a Kappa Delta, and I know that all the sisters right now are extremely proud to watch you here today and everything that you've accomplished. And let's talk about that. So in 2019, you won Miss Virginia with the first ever science demonstration for the talent competition. And this was the catalytic decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. I can't even
Yes.
pronounce it. So you're really breaking stereotypes out there.
Yeah.
So why is that so important to you for future generations to see you in this particular light?
It's interesting because the demonstration was born out of a few reasons, because I don't have a traditional performing talent. I don't sing or dance or play an instrument or twirl a baton or any of those other really awesome, wonderful talents that other women do have.
Mhm.
So I was looking for something that would represent myself, number one, and what the talents that I really had were. But it kind of became more than that eventually. And I think one of the biggest things that I was able to show through that was the value of authenticity and being yourself, even if you're not like anybody else in a group. And that rings true for a lot of people, even that don't love science as much as I do. If you feel like you don't necessarily fit in with everyone else around you and you do something differently, that can lead you to success. And that's one of the things that doing this chemistry demonstration through the Miss America process has really taught me and has allowed me to share with so many people throughout this. But of course, I love science. And I think that it also shows that there are so many more talents than just the fine arts talents that we typically see in Miss America and, other, America's Got Talent is a little bit broader, but those things that are the traditional performing talents, there's so many more talents out there other than that. And you don't have to just have one of those. So I was grateful to kind of break open the stereotype of what that was. And there was actually one woman before me in Vermont who became Miss Vermont and went to Miss America, who did that same talent demonstration. And she became one of my mentors through the process. And so I'm grateful to be able to kind of bring the science back to Miss America. And it worked. So I'm really grateful.
I love it. I love it. That sounds like a keynote presentation talking about being authentic. And I think it's a great lesson, especially for fraternity and sorority students. I mean, ultimately, that's what connection is all about. It's just being real, it's being authentic. And I think that's why so many people gravitate to your story, is because you are real, you are authentic. And it's just a great lesson, I think, for college students. I think ultimately they're going to get to where they want to go. They're going to attract more people to their organization if they just keep it real. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes, you see these videos, these recruitment videos, like, on a speedboat, in the middle of Miami. And I'm like, that's not happening every day. I mean, come on, where's the authenticity?
Yeah, I think also in terms of Greek life, looking at um, encouraging your members to have their own unique, experience and be their own person. I feel oftentimes a lot of organizations try to make everybody kind of the same, and a lot of the people want to be the same as the other people in their organization.
Mhm.
And I think that it's really important that we all celebrate being different and all of the different things that we can each offer, and celebrating that. So I think that that's another thing that could definitely, I know that I felt that way when I was in college. It's not a bad thing. We all kind of fall into that group when we're in, a large group of people, and we kind of feel like, we want to be like all these other people, but it's also important to stay true to who we are and be ourselves through that process.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we need to celebrate that diversity that we have within our fraternities and sororities. Ultimately, the more diverse that we are as a student organization, the more effective we're going to be, because we're all looking at these problems with different lenses, right? So
Absolutely.
I 100% agree with you. I think that should be the spotlight going forward. So talk to us about that moment. I know everybody in our audience wants to know, you were
Yeah.
crowned Miss America 2020. So can you describe to our audience that feeling when you won? And what you thought about at that moment?
Oh my gosh. So that was a year ago, 2 days from now, it will be a year ago.
Yeah.
And it feels like a lifetime ago sometimes, but that moment I was, it was just completely surreal because, I wasn't really even nervous going through the telecast, and I kind of expected to be, but I just kept advancing, and I was like, okay, like, I'm just going to keep doing this. Like, just got to make it to the next round. And we got down to that final two moment, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, there's a 50% chance I'm going to win now. But also I was very happy whether or not I ended up as the first runner-up or ended up as the winner. And it's funny because my mom was so sure that I was going to win, and I could see her in the audience, and I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
is she going to be right? And she was right. Moms are always right? Isn't that a thing? Um, I remember being kind of just like overwhelmed because I knew that I had just basically been hired for a job. When you think about Miss America, it's so much more than the 2 hours that you see on TV every year.
Mhm.
You see my experience begin, but I was very aware that I had a lot of work and a lot of difficult roads ahead of me
Mhm.
in winning the title of Miss America. I was also quite honestly thinking in that moment, gosh, I'm probably not going to go to sleep tonight. And we had been so tired the whole week, and I didn't go to sleep. I took a 30-minute nap and went to New York City for my media tour with the same makeup on that I won in. So, you just
Wow.
gotta, it's the hustle.
Wow, that is a whirlwind. Well, I mean, I will tell you this. I've grown up with Miss America. I think it's a great show. My family used to watch it when I was a kid, and I remember we all gathered around the TV, and we were all rooting for our favorites and just blown away. So it's something that I've grown up with as a kid, and kept up with that over the years. And that moment was just magical. Boy, did they keep you in suspense. I mean, that music is playing
Oh,
in the background. I mean, that's going on for you. I mean, it felt like a long time for me watching it, but for you, it must have felt like an eternity.
I literally was just rewatching my crowning video. I actually used it as a TikTok for when we were waiting for the election results, because the period of time that they made me wait this year, or made me and my first runner-up wait, was so exponentially longer than all of the previous years. I was like, what are you trying to do to us? And it did feel like really long. You can actually see me mouth, wow, this is hard, while I'm waiting, because I'm like, please just tell us. But that's part of the suspense. It's, we gotta make it exciting TV too, right?
Sure. Yeah, I get that part of it. But I mean, you and the first runner up, you guys were having like literal like conversations. Like that's
Yes,
how much time was going by.
we totally were. And it was great. And she's such a wonderful person. She's actually up in New York now. at Eastman School of Music pursuing her fine arts degree in operatic performance. And so she's awesome, and I'm grateful she was my first runner-up.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. That is an amazing thing. All right, so let's talk a little bit, because we have a wide audience here and they have all kinds of struggles, just like we all do. And you've also battled body image issues. You've battled an eating disorder, which seems to be so prevalent in this age of social media. I mean, you mentioned TikTok. Obviously,
Yeah.
all of our listeners are on Instagram as well, and they're constantly comparing themselves to other people and somebody else's best day on Instagram, for example. And so you're redirecting to show more emphasis on interviews and social impact with Miss America over the gowns and the bikinis, for example. So how can we help to change this culture that we have when we're constantly bombarded with images of perfection from places like social media?
I always think of social media like a highlight reel. And I think if you view social media in that way, it becomes a lot easier to digest. Instead of assuming that you're looking at reality, you're assuming that you're looking at everyone's best moments. And that's true for my Instagram too. I'm guilty of it. I try to stay as real as possible, but sometimes it's hard because we want to post like the best picture from the day on Instagram, right? Of
Sure,
course.
yes.
But one of the things, especially as I went into the Miss America experience, was I am someone who wants to be seen for what I can offer in my experience and my skill set rather than what I look like. And that's not always true for all women. And I think that every woman is entitled to be viewed in whatever way that she wants to be. So if there is a girl that, wants to show her body and wants to be in a bikini, then I think that that's up to her. But I don't think that you should have to do that to gain respect from other people. And in fact, I kind of want to prove that you don't have to show yourself to gain respect and, notoriety and, gain this type of a job without showing all of that. And that's just who I am as a person. And I was not really sure how that was going to play. Of course, Miss America has actually started as a swimsuit competition in the 20s.
Mhm.
So that's where it began. But I think you were sharing, we always see, women's bodies. We see this kind of stuff on social media. And so it's actually kind of like abnormal now to have something where it's not body focused. And I was really excited about that, especially as someone who had overcome a lot of body image issues. I didn't have to worry about, oh my gosh, am I going to, impede my progress in my own view of myself by having to put myself under that kind of scrutiny. I was just able to kind of be myself and focus on all of the awesome things that I have to offer as a human rather than what my body looks like. I do love the evening gowns, though. I will say that. I think the evening gowns are so cool. And I love my evening gown from Miss America. But it wasn't about that. It was about what I was saying and why I should be the next person to do that job. It wasn't about, how big my waist is or, how many abs I have. And I'm grateful that we kind of shifted that focus. And I think that a lot of society would do itself a great service to shift their focus away from how many abs a girl has to what they can really offer with their experience and skills.
See, that's it. That's what makes you special. And I love that about you. The other thing that a lot of the college students are dealing with right now is mental health disorders. And it's
Yes.
something you also have experience with. So, what's your advice to college students that are listening right now that are dealing with a mental health diagnosis?
It's really difficult, especially in 2020. I
Mhm.
know that so many people are experiencing negative thoughts and really a lot of depression and anxiety as we go through 2020 more than any other year. But even just being a college student is a really stressful time. And most universities have really great mental health services. I know at my college, we had therapy dogs and we had our own counseling center on campus that a lot of students utilized. And I would encourage you to utilize that. They're usually free services. And if you can even just have one session and kind of get some stuff off of your chest, see if it makes you feel better. You don't have to, commit to having a weekly appointment, but maybe you'll get there and maybe you'll feel like that's going to help you. Just knowing that there's tools and resources available to you. I don't ever want a college student to feel like they have to struggle alone. I know that I felt that way often because I didn't really know what to do. And I was really lost on a really large campus and I didn't feel like I had anybody to turn to. And so that can be a really dangerous situation for students. So don't let yourself get into crisis mode. If you feel like you're struggling, go seek help, be honest about it. one of the things that I hope to do as Miss America, and what I've been able to do a lot this year, is just destigmatize mental health disorders. We all go through it. A lot of us just don't talk about it. And the more that we talk about it, the more normal it will get. And so don't be ashamed of it. Just go get yourself some help.
I love it. That is absolutely brilliant. And I 100% agree with you. I think seeing a therapist for me was just a life-changing experience. Using meditation, there's a ton of apps out there that
Yeah.
you can use that are for free, that you can
Yeah.
download. So I highly suggest checking out some of that stuff, because it's been a life changer for me. And I think you're right. The more we talk about it, the more we see people that are, up on these big platforms that say, yeah, this has really helped me. I think we can eliminate that stigma, and you're doing a ton of good work just by talking about it. I think it's huge. And so your platform is Mind Your Meds, drug safety and abuse prevention from pediatrics to geriatrics. And what a lot of people might not understand that are listening right now is that more than 130 Americans die every single day from opioid overdose. And I've personally been working to combat the opioid crisis here in Tennessee, where I live, with a coalition that we created called Drug Free Wilco. We have 180 volunteers. It's just absolutely tremendous. And just this month, we donated 560 free doses of naloxone to treatment facilities around Wilson County, Tennessee. And it was brilliant. I mean, one particular, treatment center that we arrived at, it was a small treatment center. She explained that literally the night before, one of the residents had overdosed, and they were able to bring him back using naloxone, but it was their last dose of naloxone. And then I showed up the next morning with a box of 80 doses. And she looked at me like I was Santa Claus. She was like, you have no idea how helpful this is, and what you're doing. And what's interesting about your story, and that's kind of why I gravitate to your story, is because you're a certified naloxone trainer. So, tell our audience, I think from your perspective, why is it so important to have widespread use of naloxone in any community in America?
First of all, thank you for what you're doing in your community, because you are exactly what we need everyone to do as we combat this opioid crisis. So naloxone is, of course, the opioid overdose reversal medication. And I think it's so important because you talked about those 130 people every single day that lose their life to an opioid overdose. And with COVID, it's almost reaching more like 200 right now, because people are struggling, and there's so many different factors that play into it. But when we think about naloxone or Narcan, every one of those lives could have been saved with a dose or multiple doses of Narcan. So if you can help be that first responder for someone, I always talk about Narcan like being CPR or AED trained. If you would get those certifications to help someone in your community, and bring them back and try to help them before first responders can come, then you should get naloxone trained too. And most states, you can get it without a prescription. It's available either through your pharmacy, or you can get it from your local health department, or certain recovery centers will have them. It's a great tool, and it brings people back so quickly. And I get a lot of interesting comments when I talk about naloxone, because people feel like it promotes drug use in some way, or it negatively impacts the epidemic. But one of the things that I've really learned this year is that someone can't find long-term recovery if they're not alive. And if you want to give someone the opportunity to seek recovery and regain their life, you have to get them to a point where quite literally they're going to survive. And that's what naloxone can do. And so that's why I think it's so important, and I'm grateful that I get to talk about it this year.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you so much for saying that. I think your words mean such a great deal to so many people that are sick, and they have this disease and they just need this treatment. And I think naloxone, just like you said, is going to give them that opportunity to get the help that they need and get back on the right track. So it's so important for you to talk about. And the other thing is, maybe we have some Jeopardy fans here that are listening. You are going to be the first Miss America to hold the title for 2 years due to this pandemic that we're talking about. And this is a first in the 100-year-old organization to have someone hold the title for 2 years. So I'm wondering, how does that change things for you to hold the title for 2 years and also face all of the limitations that you have in front of you due to the pandemic?
So actually, I'm not the first. And this is a wildly misreported fact, actually. There was actually a Miss America who was Miss America for 2 years in the 1920s. think it was because of the Great Depression, but that was, 100 years ago. It was right as the organization was starting. But I'm, of course, the first in recent years. And it's interesting. It's very on brand for me because nothing I do is normal. So I am looking forward to being able to, be part of the 100th anniversary celebration. So we're going into the 100th year, quite literally, and the next Miss America will be the 100th anniversary of Miss America. So, I mean, how cool for me to be able to get to continue that impact. But I'm also going back to school next year too. So it's going to have to be a balance. But what a cool thing to be able to say, right?
Yeah, you are the perfect person at the perfect time. So I'm just so grateful that you're there and that you're using the platform in such a constructive way to help literally hundreds and thousands of people in the country with your words. It's amazing. And of course, we love to eat really good food here at Fraternity Foodie. So what is your favorite foods to eat on the East Coast? And are there any particular restaurants that you really love to visit?
Okay, so I love food, but I love dessert more.
Okay.
My favorite food is ice cream. And so I always look for local creameries that I can get really good homemade ice cream. And in my hometown of Newtown, Pennsylvania, we have a creamery that was open since the 50s. It's called Good Nose Ice Cream, and I go there way too much. In Virginia, we have Homestead Creamery in Southwest Virginia. Again, in college, went there way too much. I'm a huge ice cream person. But otherwise, I really like, as Miss America, I get to travel usually when it's not COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like trying local cuisine wherever I go. So I'm not ever going to get something that's not like local themed when I'm somewhere new, because I want to be able to kind of experience the culture. So I've gotten to eat some really cool food. I'm also a big barbecue fan, so I always get barbecue when I can. So those are just some of my top food picks: ice cream and barbecue, all just the healthy things.
I love it. Anytime you're in Nashville, you let me know and we will go and get some barbecue and ice cream and it will be fantastic. I promise.
I'm going to hold you to
that. That's so great. All right. So where can our audience go to connect with you on social media and follow your time as Miss America?
Absolutely. So I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now TikTok because I'm, up with the times. Just at Camille Schrier is just my full name without a space. And then if you want to follow the Miss America organization, same Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, just at Miss America.
I love it. Thank you so much, Camille. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate everything that you're doing. It's been so helpful. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of the listeners of Fraternity Foodie, on behalf of all of Kappa Delta. We're also proud of you and continue the great work. And we hope to see you really, really soon in one of our towns. And maybe once this pandemic passes by, some barbecue, I think it's going to be on your horizon.
Absolutely. I'll let you know when I'm in Nashville. Hopefully I'll be there soon after the pandemic. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And for our listeners, thank you for listening. If you liked hearing Camille, please like it, share it, and we hope to see you on another episode of Fraternity Foodie. Thanks so much. Bye for now.